Welcome everyone to Gray Shirt Guy. Rock the Gray Shirt as always. Back with another studio update. Is the 30th of June. It's a Sunday. Let's get into it. We're going to talk about the models that we painted. We're going to show some of those off. Talk about what we're working on next, and and look at a little bit into this data balanced update and how it sort of affects projects going forward, or just kind of how I feel about it. We did get the Battle for Macragge made to order set, so it shipped on 179 days since order. So I ordered it on Christmas of last year. Was the last model I ordered. It was the last model I ordered from GW's website, and so it was 179 days before it shipped. And made to order was supposed to be 180 days, and so it shipped right on the 179th day. So they had strategically planned it that way, or they were just kind of waiting and being like, this order's not there yet. So kind of curious about that. And there are some pretty interesting mono-pose Space Marines, so that'd be kind of cool. My wife did get me the new Creed model. I didn't have the new Ursula Creed. And so that'll be pretty cool when I get to the Cadians. And I did find some older Cadians, and so she got me those as well, which is delightful. But let's get into what we painted. All right, so we have a Steel Legion Platoon Command Squad. I used the Cadian Command Squad as the basis. Had to do some modifications because the Cadian Command Squad, you have to take the Master Vox and you have to take the Medic. And they're very, very, very picky on like what war gear and like how you assemble them. So the way I have the platoon squad configured, I had to do some conversion in order for that to work. So the Meltagun is standard. The officer is standard. Now what I had to do with the standard bearer is I made the standard bearer as normal, except for instead of the other hand, instead of him like holding his hand down, I put the chainsword, the chainsword bit in there, which is just I think it's actually the officer's chainsword bit, but that went on pretty easy. So the chainsword modification for the regimental standard, no problem. For the medic, I had to get another chainsword. Now I couldn't find a chainsword in the other bits box, and I couldn't find one in the infantry squad. Maybe I just didn't look hard enough for a right-handed chainsword, but I did find one in the Scion kit. So I have a bunch of old Scions, and typically you wouldn't be taking the chainsword on your Scions. You would probably doing power weapon and bolt pistol or something along the line. So I just happen to have a couple extra chainswords in my bits box, and so I went with that. So that's where I got the chainsword from the Scion kit. So there's Steel Legion, and I tried to make an all metal Steel Legion command squad a long time ago, but I just couldn't get the models together to build it the way I wanted to, so I went with this one. And so we got Melta Gun, Plasma Pistol, Power Fist, Chainsword, Medic, and Regimental Center. We no Master Vox on this one. This squad is, although Yarrick Leontis is in the army, this squad is going to be riding in the Crassus Armored Transport with 30 infantry, like normal infantry troops. So we have three, so a squad, a brick of 20 and a brick of 10, and this command squad in the Crassus moving up. We'll dump them out. These guys, I wanted them to have a little bit more punch with the Melta Gun and Plasma Gun and the more melee weapons, to kind of be attached to the 20-man blob and just kind of like plop and say, this is ours, this is our spot. I don't think they're going to be up front, but I think they're going to be kind of in the middle of the 20-man blob. I think that'll look pretty cool. And the gas masks are from a mix of the Cadian Command sprue itself and from the upgrade, the Cadian upgrade, because you don't get enough gas masks in the command squad sprue, which is kind of silly. I think you should be able to get 5 gas masks in there, but I think you only get like 2. But I had to get the other gas masks from the upgrade sprue, which was whatever. But I did the Flecktarn woodland camo-ish pattern. There is out there a Steel Legion art. I don't know if it's official GW art or if it's just commission art, but someone did an art with Steel Legion having this kind of a greenish camoed pattern. So I went with that. I really like that for the Steel Legion, so that's why we're going to go with the greenish camo pattern, and the armor is gray in that photo, so we're going to stick with the gray equipment armor and some green, and I think it looks really good. This Plasma Glow and the OSL, I was not expecting the Plasma Glow and OSL to look so nice. So I can't remember. I just looked up a tutorial on how to do plasma weapons. Man, hold on. Anyway, I just checked. I looked at Juan Hidalgo's plasma gun tutorial, and the only thing that I didn't have is I didn't have access to the white oil MIG thing that he was using. So I just used some really thinned down white from Pro-Acryl, some of the titanium white. And I went in there, and I did have to do a little bit of cleaning up, blending it with the previous Tumblegar Blue. But this was all done with the dry brushes steps that I followed with him, and I did a little dry brush. My wife got me the Artist Opus dry brush set for our anniversary, so I used that a little bit. Quick little thing: the Artist Opus dry brush set is nice. Like it is nice. I like that it comes with a soap conditioner. I like that it comes with a little sponge, and the brushes are nice. The texture palette was a little bit extra money, but everything is good. I do think it is a premium price. I think the wooden case and everything, you're paying a premium price, but you can replicate that for a little bit less than that price. I think you can replicate the same thing with like some Army Painter dry brushes, or if you can find some dry brushes that are similar to those two from a third-party manufacturer or from a hobby store. I'm not 100% sure. I've never seen those kind of stipply dry brushes in the wild at like Michael's or whatever, but they probably exist. Obviously, they exist. But I have used the Army Painter ones. I will say that the Artist Opus ones do come in smaller sizes, which is really good, especially for this. The smaller size on the different plasma guns that's made the glow really good. I will continue, and I did use the Artist Opus dry brushes on the bases. Just to kind of mix it in. I use what is it? There's the very common brown, like Morgoth brown, or I forget the name of the brown. It was a very common brown, and then I used Steel Legion drab, and then I used a lighter green to kind of blend in the dirt here. And then I've used some Gaming Grass tufts, and I think some tufts from Army Painter maybe. Anyway, some glue is still drying on this photo. Yeah, they all came out pretty well. I did use Mechanica Standard Gray, so these are base coat. So the way I did it is base coat, stippled on the black, brown, light green, and dotted on the yellow bits. This is Averland Sunset. Did the dry brushing here, and then washed the entire model in Agrax Earthshade. The older Agrax Earthshade, you can use the new one if you have it. I just still have some of the old stuff, so I'm kind of working my way through it. And then re-highlighted up the grays. Didn't touch the blacks, did the purples. Re-highlighted up the greens, the solid gray, and the solid green areas I re-highlighted up to kind of bring it back. But everything else I kind of left muted. I did have to completely repaint the whole flag, except for like. So what I should have done is I should have done an all-overall wash of the entire model except for the flag, and I should have just recess shaded the flag. It would have been a lot faster to recess shade the flag than to redo it. This is not white. This is Gray Seer, Corvus Black, Corn Red, and Steel Legion Drab, and then Averland Sunset for the yellow. Pretty much almost all yellow I do is Averland Sunset, at least at the base. So let's keep going. Let's go through some more photos. All right. Nice angle. Shows the glow really well. So if you can see here, this is where this was the Voxcaster guy. And so you still have the little Voxcaster backpack right here. And I did have to shave the chest down and sort of kind of make it look like the Carapace armor a little bit, make it a little flatter. And if you really, really look under the model, you can tell that it's not supposed to be a plasma gunner. So I think from a technical standpoint, if this was like a competition piece, I would not have used this model because it requires so much modification, at least not at my level. I probably would have just bought a whole nother kit and then just made a command squad with two kits, because then it would have been a little bit more true to form. Also, I wouldn't have used this color set because I don't think the green camo pattern is official GW art. I think it was the fan art. It still looked really good. That's why I went with it. Yeah, so we going over, and a nice shot of the back of the flag. Steel Legion was a little harder to draw than I thought it was going to be. Well, a little bit on the had to clean up a bunch of times. But yeah, really a lot of intricate details on these models, which is both delightful and frustrating. So at the end, you're like, this looks nice, but while you're painting it, there's just so many things to pick out. And we got this nice little medic with a chainsword. I think a chainsword medic should be standard. I don't think the medic should only ever have the las gun. So in the platoon command squad, you can take the chainsword. The question is, how much longer are we going to be able to do that? Like, are we going to get a platoon command squad, like a Catachan Refresh platoon command squad that'll keep the extra war gear options available? I'm hoping that they don't like further cut us off in the codex, because that would just make this command squad like it wouldn't work. I'd have to fix everything if we only stuck with the Cadian command squad, but hopefully not. Also, I don't think the Cadian command squad can lead infantry squad. Maybe it can. That's a good question. But all right, let's move on. So we have our 6 missile launcher teams, and this is standard, same pattern. These are all the metal ones, and I think they look really well. These were a bit annoying to paint just because the way the bases kind of had to fit. I had to use, so these are 50 mil bases, not the bases, but as I was painting them, I had them on cork, and so I had a piece of paper clip shoved through the bottom through the feet, drilled it in there, super glued it in there, and then they're too heavy to sit on one cork, so I had to rubber band 3 corks together, and the rubber bands kept breaking. And then not as soon as I would tie them down, it's just over time, just kind of sitting, and then I realized it was the sun coming through the window that was heating up the rubber. And I was like, weird, never happened in my old place. But these are a little cheaper rubber bands, so makes sense. But I wrote little funny notes on all the missile tips. So this is for Abby. It's supposed to be for Abaddon, and so I wrote for Abby, and my wife's like, who's Abby? And so I thought it sounded kind of funny. Pointy ears are lame. Chaos is lame. Nothing like too bad. Tau shoot bad. Xeno suck. Let's see what else we got here. From Terra, love Biggie, Nid snack, like things like that. Just like eat this. Forgot what that one says. In his name, yeah. Orcs suck, eat this, things like that. I just thought it was kind of fun. There were some suggestions for some less PC options, but I just kind of wanted to keep it a little bit more like game store friendly if some kids saw these, so I kept a little more PC. I think it's pretty funny. Yeah. So same technique I did with the command squad. I think I'll spend a little bit more time on the command squad though. Obviously the goggles and the gas mask rebreathers are different, but aside from that, looking pretty good. Moving on over. All right, let's talk about the changes specifically to guard and kind of how guard work. Now, the voice army rule, I don't believe this has changed. This basically allows you to issue orders when you disembark from transport. So that's the change. This whole army detachment changed. It used to be, if you stood still, you got lethal hits. But now it's basically, if you have a regimental unit, which is pretty much everyone except for vehicles, plus sentinels. So sentinels have regiment and squadron, apparently. So basically, and you make a range attack against target that against a visible unit, but not monsters or vehicles, you get lethal hits ability. So what that means is if my infantry squads are shooting at anything that's not a monster or a vehicle, and they're visible, obviously, because they'd be shooting at it, with like las guns and plasma guns and melter guns and everything, they can get lethal hits, which is pretty cool. You're still fishing for 6s. But if you have anti-tank weapons on regimental models, and you're shooting at monsters or vehicles, you're not going to gain lethal hits, which is kind of a bummer. Like, let me see if I can zoom in. There we go. Yeah, it's kind of a bummer a little bit, because what's the point of heavy weapon teams with like las cannons? What's the point of shooting anything that's not a non-vehicle or monster with a regimental unit. It's almost like, I mean, yes, obviously, if you have, if it's the only thing you could shoot at, but if you had the choice between shooting at another infantry squad, another battle line squad, or shooting at a vehicle, but you had a las cannon in your squad, why would you? And then the other thing talks about if you have squadrons. So if you have a Leman Russ and you got a Punisher cannon on it, and your Leman Russ is really good, high volume, low strength, but really good at taking out infantry, you're not going to get lethal hits unless you're shooting at monsters and vehicles. So I think it's better than the don't move and shoot. You get lethal hits. Like, I think it's better than that, but it also sort of makes it like, well, why would I take this option now? Like, if I'm taking a Leman Russ, why would I not only take something that is specifically kitted out to shoot against monsters and vehicles? And maybe the whole idea is that you shouldn't get lethal hits on every single thing. Like, you shouldn't be min-maxing your lethal hits. You should just kind of be shooting at whatever your weapon profile is best at. Or maybe instead of taking a vehicle unit that's anti-infantry, you should take an infantry unit that's anti-infantry, or a regimental unit that's anti-infantry. So it is interesting. Not sure how that's going to turn out. I think it is better than before. I'm more of a gunline kind of player. I don't really like to move, as we'll talk about in a little bit. So the new army detachment, I think it's good. It's confusing from like a loadout selection standpoint. Now when I'm looking at my infantry squads, and I'm like, well, I mean, my Steel Legion are great because missile launchers and grenade launchers in the standard metal units. I can shoot frag all day long, and if I really need to shoot at a heavy infantry squad, I have crack. So I think it works fine for me, but I won't be shooting at any vehicles or monsters with infantry squads, which I think is they're trying to emphasize that you shouldn't be. Like, tanks should fight tanks should fight monsters should fight monsters, but regimental units should be dealt to take care of all the other stuff. However, they gave you melta-guns and they gave you all these other weapons that could be used on tanks. So it's a little interesting. I'm curious to see what we get moving forward in the actual codex. But for now, it's okay. And then the points changes happened, and I was a little confused because recently they have been making the Manticore and the Death Strike and everything very, 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 very expensive, and the Basilisk, and obviously Kasrkins. And then I saw the Rogel Door go down. I saw Armored Sentinels go down. I was like, what is going on here? I was like, huh. Okay, Field Ordnance Battery. Okay, cool. All these are going down in points. Okay. All right, interesting. Forge World points. Nothing really changed with Forge World points. None of those really stayed the same. I was like, okay, all right, that's cool. And then we move on to this. Okay. So, it's no secret that I really like artillery. It's no secret that I really like indirect fire. Artillery, to me, is like a great idea. And if you look from a lore perspective, the Imperial Guard regiments are not combined arms. They're not combined arm regiments. They are intentionally separated into different they have rifle, mechanized, artillery, tank. They're separated so no one commander, no one general or colonel could ever make a sustainable army together. So when I'm building my list, I'm like, I want to make an artillery regiment. I want to make a infantry regiment. I want to make a tank company. I don't think combined arms is not something that I think about. And that's probably just because I'm not really a big player. But so essentially what this means is all weapons with indirect fire, if they are shooting at something that's not visible, unmodified hit rolls of 1 and 3 always fail. So what unmodified hit means, and I had to look it up because I didn't understand what that meant. It means that essentially it doesn't matter what buffs you have. It's what's on the dice. So when you roll the dice, if you have a 1, 2, or 3, you always fail, no matter what buffs you could put on afterwards, because then your modifications happen afterwards. So if you roll and it's not a 4, 5, or 6, you're definitely going to fail. Now, this is where it gets weird. You already subtract 1 from the hit roll. So if you're a 4 plus ballistic skill, so if you hit on 4 ups and you roll a 4, -1, so you don't hit. So you need to be at least a 3 plus to always consistently hit on a 4 plus. And then they still get the benefits of cover. Now this negates the stratagem, the expert bombardier stratagem, and it negates drill commander. It doesn't seem to negate the stealth, the scout sentinel, daring recon, because that's just re-rolling 1s, and a re-roll is not the same as a modified hit roll. So if you roll a 1, but you get to re-roll 1s with daring recon, then at least that's how it sounds to me, that you get to re-roll it. Because, like, let's say you shot and you got all 1s, you would do a command re-roll anyways, and I think that's just, a re-roll is not the same as an unmodified hit roll. I think daring recon also allows the benefit of cover thing. I don't know if it does the subtract 1 from hit roll. I think it still does, but either way, it doesn't really matter. At the bare minimum, 1s to 3s don't hit at all when you roll those dice, and you can't increase them, you can't buff them. So best case scenario, your indirect firing indirect are hitting on 4, 5s, and 6s. More than likely they're hitting on 5s and 6s, because if you don't have any sort of buffs at all, then you're going to be subtracting 1 from your hit roll, and then they're going to gain the benefits of cover. So this further removes, so my artillery Talarn regiment had 6 basilisks in it, which you can no longer do, and 1 manticore. And so what I was thinking about doing is I was thinking about taking 3 of the basilisks and repainting them for a different regiment. Maybe Cadians, maybe Catachans, maybe Vestroyans. I'll probably just take those 3 out. Taking 3 out, putting 2 more manticores in, so I have 3 manticores and 3 basilisks. So at least I still keep the artillery regiment theme, and then seeing where my points line up, because after that I might end up just adding a couple infantry squads to the Talarn, which means I'd have to go back to Victoria Miniatures and get more Talarn. So the Talarn artillery army is still going to be taking as much artillery as possible. We might even switch over to pick up some more, what do they call those things? The field ordnance batteries. We might pick up some of those and make those Talarn. But I'm not going to change, at least thematically, the Talarn artillery regiment. I just am going to take some of their basilisks away because I can't field 6. And yeah, so indirect fire took a heavy nerf. Like, I get it from like a gameplay perspective, that it's no fun that I can't see my enemy and they're shooting at me and there's nothing I can do. There are many ways that in the modern battlefield that artillery can be negated. Air support. Oh, no, aircraft are too strong. Can't play with aircraft. You can't use air support. Drones. No, can't use those. So, like, there's things that you could do to negate indirect fire in the sci-fi setting. Deep Strike. There's so many layered rules that make it to where the game seems to be upset that they made indirect fire. And I get it, indirect fire from a gameplay perspective should just be there to do some incidental damage and to harass the enemy. It shouldn't be there to, like, take over the whole game. Oh, you know what? I could put some Wyverns in my... I have 3 Wyverns, but they're already painted for my... whatever you call them. My Morty Iron Guard. So I could do some Wyverns in my Talarn. That'd be kind of cool. More thoughts. But yes, anyway, so yes, indirect fire nerf. That is why we got the buffs to all of the other artillery. Now, Rogal Dorn went down, so I do have 2 Rogal Dorns, and so my Cadians will be enjoying those Rogal Dorns. So that'll be nice. All right, let's get on to what we're going to be doing this week, next week, I guess, depending on how you count when a week starts, because I guess some people count Sundays at the beginning of the week. So we have, so I was on vacation this whole previous week, Monday through Friday. Actually, it was like Friday through Friday, but either way, I had originally had planned to paint every day, Monday through Friday. But as anybody who is married knows, that's an unrealistic plan. And you shouldn't spend 12 hours a day just painting. You should spend time with your wife, because that's why you married them. So Monday, we went to the gym Monday, Wednesday, Friday. So Monday kind of didn't really get any painting done. Got a little bit of painting done, but not a lot. Tuesday, got a bunch of painting done. Finished up the missiles launcher squad. Got all of the models. So this is an older picture. I don't have a current picture. Got all the models laid out. Had them all stippled them all the camo colors. So on the command squad where you see the stipple, I did that on all of these. I just didn't want to run and go take another picture. I just pulled an older picture off. And so I did the stippling, and then I painted the command squad on Thursday into Friday. So Wednesday, no painting at all. So my original plan for taking vacation time to paint that whole week, there was whole days where like there was only maybe a couple hours, or there was no painting at all, which did cause a lot of conversations to be had, because back in the day before I got married, I would do that. I would paint. I would set aside vacation time, and I would just paint nonstop for like 4 or 5 days, 6 days sometimes. And basically the conversation is, I don't really get an entire week unless I send my wife on like a vacation. And so that's something where we'll be thinking about and working in the future, that she does have some road trips planned and some trips to see. And so basically, if my wife isn't preoccupied with other plans and things, I just need to understand that I'm not always going to have as much free time, which is fine. Like, I'm not saying that like I'm being like bullied or anything, like blink twice if you're being bullied. But no, but anyways, okay. So, however, that being said, I haven't done a 24-hour painting challenge. I don't think ever. I think I've done a bunch of 12-hour painting challenges, but I've never done a 24-hour painting challenge. And I have this big brick you see here of infantry. One of the sergeants is painted. Everything else is waiting. So they're base coated green. They're camoed. Their waiting is the grays, the blacks, the silvers, the rest. They're waiting all the cleanup, and then the washing, and then the bases and everything. And so I'm going to start Friday midday, noon, 1 o'clock, somewhere around there. So we're going to go hit the gym, get snacks, get food, get everything ready. Starting at some point on Friday, for 24 hours, I will just be painting. That'll be the painting period. I don't know if I'll be able to stay awake the whole time, but we'll see. And I think that's how we'll be able to get these huge blocky chunks of models done. Now, like obviously, like really nice like command squads and tanks and stuff here. Obviously, I can paint those over multiple days, but I kind of just want to get these guys done. Because once these guys are done, then I get to move on to the Bane Blade with the giant plasma cannon, the Storm Blade or whatever his name is. And I'm really worried. We'll go back to the webcam. So, been having some conversations with the wife about the Manta challenge. So, not buying any models, not buying any Warhammer models. Like me, not buying any. Like my wife can buy me gifts all the time because she likes to do that. But me not buying any Warhammer models the whole year. The plan was that she was going to get me a Manta or a Titan or something equivalent if I was able to hold out. And Forge World models are increasingly becoming less and less playable. There was a time period a long time ago when I was younger where you couldn't play with Forge World models at all. And so like Forge World was just nice to have unless you were playing with like Elysians. But even then you still had to ask your opponent, and like Forge World models could not be used in tournaments. And so Forge World was always just seen as like a cool rich person thing to have. And then they started allowing them in tournaments, and then they were really good. And because originally you couldn't play them typically outside of casual games, so they were just really, really powerful. And when they added them to tournaments, they were still really good. And then eventually they were like, all right, fine. So they overpointed them, and they made them like unnecessarily high points. They were still good, but they weren't worth the points. And now lately, a lot of Forge World models have went to Legends. And so I'm like thinking like, sure, you can get a Warhound Titan or like two Warhound Titans or a Reaver Titan or like a Manta or whatever. But one, the Manta's too big to really put it anywhere in the house. Like I would have to have like a dedicated like shelf. I wouldn't even fit it in any of my cabinets. I would have to like literally like build a shelf for it, like a table for it. Well, not built, but I'd have to have a table set up for it. So the Manta's kind of like it's cool, but it's like really really big. And even any of the knights, even the small titans versus the big titans, like the only thing I would do with them is have them set up for like a few stop motion battle reports. So it's like I don't know how I feel about that. And just the fact that a lot of Forge World models, if they're not getting plastic releases, are just going to Legends, or they're going to Horus Heresy, which is really dumb. Like the Leviathan Dreadnought, I painted 3 Leviathan Dreadnoughts for the Atlantean Spears, and they went to yeah. So I don't know. We're gonna have to see what they do to the Guard Codex when it drops, but hopefully it drops before January. I'm just not sure if I want to get a Titan or a Manta or any other Forge World models because they're just going to be wiped out. So we'll have to see where we're at, but we might use this challenge to just like get like a full army of something. I mean, Age of Sigmar 4th edition pre-order it just this weekend, so maybe we'll do something Age of Sigmar E. Not really Warhammer Fantasy. That kind of came and went. The old world. I should really like. I don't want to sell off my Empire army, but I probably could make some money if I sold it off. But yeah. So the challenge is still on. It's been 6 months as of tomorrow. Since actually it's been greater than 6 months since I last bought a model, yeah, so we'll see where we get. Yeah, I'm just not sure about Forge World anymore. It makes me really upset. I bought a lot of Forge World. I mean, obviously the Forge World models that I have now, aside from the Storm Hammer, the one with the 6 las cannons on the side. I think it's a Storm Hammer. I have 2 of those. You could use this as a Horus Heresy. Okay. But some of the guard ones were not around in Horus Heresy. So the giant Plasma Baneblade is a 40k one. So I'm hoping that they don't get rid of the Plasma Baneblade. I hope they don't Legends it. They probably won't Legends that one because they did for like the Tyranids. They Legend everything except for the giant Titan Hierodule and the flyer, the big flyer lady. But the Demon Carrions and all those other ones, and the Barb Cyrodiil and whatever, all those, they all went to Legends, which kind of really sucks for people. They were good in tournaments, and people were taking them because they were just big, beefy baddies that are a little bit bigger than Carnifexes. But yeah, so we'll see. So I'm not sure about Forge World moving forward, but I'm gonna stick to the challenge. I have so much to paint, so like I'm just kind of like whatever. And then every once in a while, my wife's like, "Do you want anything?" Because she likes getting me gifts, and so if there is anything I really, really, really want, but we're gonna get the Steel Legion done. We're gonna move on to Sisters of Battle, and her new codex dropped. We haven't picked it up yet, but I think as we're painting her armies, we might pick up some more Sisters units. Just to think about some different things and different army combinations. But aside from that, that's pretty much it. I hope you enjoyed, and I will talk to you next time. Goodbye.